Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So Algorand is hours away from D-Day, right? So we're going to find out in a few hours which way is Algorand going to break out. And at the moment, it's precariously bearish on the bottom of the wedge, which we're going to show you in a short while. But before that, let's take a look at the wider market. And excuse me for my setup. I'm away traveling on business. So I'm in a hotel room. But thought I'd get you this video anyway, as I'm committed to doing that anytime there's an update on the market. So excuse the audio, excuse any lighting or issues. I just want to get this content out for you guys as quickly as possible. So we can see a bit of a flat market at the moment. We can see Bitcoin still hovering around the 41,284 mark. And you can see the whole market is pretty much flat down the board. I mean, a few notable movers, Solana up 3%, but that's because they called off so much down. So naturally, they're going to recover somewhat. Avalanche has moved again, another layer one play. Luna flat, Chainlink up 1%. Very flat market for the crypto market. And I think this is an important time for us to reflect. And if you saw my video breaking down Chamath's Palihapitiya's long-term view on Bitcoin getting to $200,000, make sure you go check that out, because I was in a reflective mood and I did spend some time kind of zooming out, and I think it's important we all do that as investors. So this is an important time for us to know that Bitcoin has really found a good floor. So anytime you want an asset or a stock to kind of go up in value, let me just go down over to the day chart on Bitcoin. Let's spend some time zooming out. And I think it's important that when you've been on this run over such a fast amount of time, in fact, I'm going to go to the weekly chart. When you've been on this kind of a run on Bitcoin over a weekly chart, I mean, that is the definition of parabolic, right? You're bound to get this calling off. And in the scheme of a decade, 5 years even, this is going to play out as nothing. This is a 6-month blip on Bitcoin, and it's a blessing in disguise because it's an opportunity for us to call off. And until I see a call off, I don't believe that's the new floor of the price. So you can see here, we got a really sure assurance that we're not going less than 30k Bitcoin. The status quo has changed. So before this point, when we went and tested the 30,000 level on the way down, we don't know if any of this is real, right? It happens and it storms up, but we don't know if it's real and tangible for the long run. And so whilst you can trade it, that's fine. But for the long-term holders here, you can now rest assured that 30,000 is that level where we just rejected and went back up. And now what I'm seeing is we're building another bottom here at the 41, 42,000 mark. Bitcoin is really holding strong then. If we can hold this strongly and bounce, just like we bounced at the 30k mark, create another bounce here and head higher, that's going to create another bit of scaffolding. And that's what we're doing here. We want to build scaffolding. If we can create scaffolding at the 42,000 level mark, that's going to hold us in good stead for the long run. And I know a lot of YouTubers and crypto influencers won't talk about this, but it's really important that we speak about this from this perspective, right? It's easy for me to put in the title, we're going to go to $100,000, $200,000, and that's fine. We need to have the upward bullish goals as well. But for us to go and stabilize at 30,000 and then 42,000, that's just as important than us pursuing all-time highs, okay? We need to build that scaffolding. Try to think of that scaffolding. Now, let's quickly move on to ALGO, because I really want to show you what's going on, and we're only a couple of hours away from our D-Day. Let me switch over to the 4-hourly chart, and we can see that this wedge I was sharing with you is starting to come to an end, okay? So we can see we're narrowing in on our wedge. Let's show you that over here, and you can see that time's running out. We've bounced around inside of this wedge for the best part of, let's take a look how long we've been in this wedge for. So we've been in this wedge for about 11 days now, okay? And we entered from, I mean, even though this is a bearish technically because we're coming down into the wedge shape, normally there's a high probability that you tend down from this, okay? This is a bearish wedge because you've entered it on a downward trend. You enter into the wedge and then you're more likely to go down. And if you go down, the bottom of your wedge is at about $1.46. So I want to bring this to your attention, guys, because we could break down, okay? If we don't bounce off this wedge here, and you know, we're currently just right on that wedge here now, then we could break down to a $1.46. And that looks like the most likely now. That doesn't cause me any cause for concern for long term, but if you're trading this, please be careful at this breakout point here. But I do have to mention, if we do get a good bounce off and head back up to the upward part of the wedge, you're looking at a target of $2.26 where I've drawn this white line, okay? But before that, at the top of the wedge, your first price point where I'd take off half my trade would be at $2.04, and then I'd leave some running to see if we reach $2.20, okay? So that's my view on Algorand. I'm not concerned with us bouncing around here. Again, just like we tore up so quickly, I expect a cooling off. If this bounces down, I'd expect some sort of resistance to come in around the $1.50 mark If not, our next solid bit of resistance is at $1.33. Okay, so that's Algorand. Looking at Ethereum, again, like the rest of the wider market, we are seeing the same thing, okay? So we tested the EMA ribbon, rejected. Tested the EMA ribbon again, rejected. Tested again, rejected. Not looking good. I'm just going to show you the same for Bitcoin on the 4-hourly so you can see what I'm talking about. And you can see in Bitcoin, we're still in this downward wedge, okay? Let me just zoom out ever so slightly for you guys. We're in this downward trend, and we're clearly in a bearish mode right now, okay? After this initial FUD, we got rejected once, twice, third time rejected here. We're getting rejected earlier and earlier into the ribbon, okay? So you can see we almost broke through the ribbon here. Just zoom in a bit for you. We almost broke through the ribbon here, rejected. Here, almost broke through again, rejected. Here, we're getting rejected straight away, okay? But the good news is we are holding strong at the 41,000 mark. 40 to 41,000 mark here is acting strong for us, okay? But we are still heading in this downward channel. And I think we're through the worst of the FUD. Again, you guys know that I like to tie in my technical analysis with some of my fundamentals. And from a FUD point of view, we're at peak fear right now. We're at extreme fear on the fear and greed index. We know people are concerned right now. There's all that China FUD going on. There's Evergrande FUD. The stock market yesterday was falling amidst the bond yields were rising. You've got a debt ceiling crisis in the States as well. A lot is going on right now. And this is peak FUD for crypto markets. So I can only see upwards trend as soon as we start bouncing here. So in order to bounce, we've got this level here at 41.42. If we can hold this level, which we have been for a while, and get some momentum back up to break out of this wedge, that could be a great possibility for us to break through the 43,000 mark and then try head for the 46,000 mark. On the downside, and we always have to be wary of the downside, I want to show you that if we lose this resistance at 41, like I've always said, the next one down is at 38,400 for us, okay, guys? So it's really important that we hold 41,000, otherwise we could head down to a 38,000 before we can head higher. Worth looking at COTI. You guys know I'm a big fan of COTI as well, and they've had a great announcement with ADA. And COTI's really been moving from strength to strength. We're 12% up today, and you can see COTI's doing really well. Again, getting rejected at that line I've drawn there at 66 cents, which is really interesting. We kind of keep running up to that line, falling back down, running up to that line, falling back down. But the good thing is you can see the EMA ribbon is acting as perfect support in this instance, okay? You saw how it was working perfectly for resistance on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ALGO, and you can see how it's working as support here for COTI. So really good that it's kind of, chilling out for a bit because we had a big tear up here. And a lot of the news was already leaked, right? So we know that a lot of the news that they announced with Cardano was already leaked, so a lot of it was already priced in. But now this is good that they're kind of consolidating, hopefully creating a bit of a bullish wedge here if we kind of get squashed between the EMA ribbon and this 66 level all-time high resistance. And then we've got to head from strength to strength. From my point of view, from a fundamental perspective, COTI is really set up to go for a run. If it can muster up the volume and the momentum to push through this 66 mark, which you tested properly twice, almost a third time in the middle here, we're in green space to really create new all-time highs for COTI. So really exciting time for COTI. BNB we've seen is up about 9%. BNB is doing pretty well, but obviously because it took such a hit, again, this is the same pattern we saw as Bitcoin and Ethereum, but if you see, it broke through the EMA ribbon here. A really powerful 4-hourly candle on BNB. And obviously they held up their resistance at 318 quite strongly. So if I flick back to Bitcoin, you can see the difference. Where Bitcoin got told, we're not going through here, BNB's really broke through that EMA ribbon and it's decoupled, and it's had a really powerful period there. So COTI at 12%, BNB up 9%, are the two leaders right now in this space. Solana's had a strong little period. Let's take a look at Solana. I know a lot of you like Solana. And as I've mentioned, Solana's kind of narrowing in, right? This teal EMA line here is really acting as nice support, but at the same time, the EMA ribbon is acting as resistance. So it's kind of getting stuck here, and it's going to have to make up its mind. Either we're going to lose the teal line and we're going to head lower, or we're going to have to break above this EMA ribbon and start testing 148, and then your next level at 171. Okay, so really important levels for Solana there. So there you go, guys. Overall, really exciting time. We're going to find out really soon on Algorand, which I'm going to show you one last time on this wedge, I mean, we could even find this could break out any hour now towards the downside, and it's an opportunity for you guys to place a short trade. Towards the upside, we'd have to bounce off this wedge here and head back up to the upside in order for us to get the bullish situation. But it looks like, and the probability for a downward wedge is you break to the downside most times than not. So if we break to the downside and you're held for a long time, as in you're a long-term investor, your next level of resistance is probably you got a level of resistance at the 149 at the bottom of this wedge. If we break through that, you're heading to 132 on this one, okay? So 149 and 132 on Algorand. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, sorry for the setup. I'm not in my normal setup, which makes it super uncomfortable. I've got my iPad here on a sidecar, and I've got my MacBook here, and I'm just used to all my bigger screens. So a bit flustered, no microphone or lighting, but hopefully you got the content which you needed on time anyway. Hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching this, guys. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.